Thank you, Ivy. Thank you, Lara. Thank you, Lee and Philip, for being here. I'm in a trance, so it's going to take me a little minute to come back here and be with everybody. This beautiful resonance that I feel in my body, really in the presence of the arts. And this is really what I'm here to talk to you about today. But in the context of space, and really the feeling that Laura was talking about and that Judy was bringing up in the soul and the spirit of work is really what I want to talk to you about in the context of space and architecture. We spend, over 90% of our time in built environments. These environments affect us. I think we know that deeply since the pandemic, and we've developed this way of speaking and being with each other. And certainly, I think Lee started this forum during that time. And we all recognized the importance of what our environments do to us, how we feel in them, what their power is. And generally speaking, I work as an architect, as an artist, as an interior designer. I do all kinds of work, commercial, residential, ground up, not ground up, all scales. And in all of it, the thread that I find to be really important and the power of design as this amazing, almost sacred tool is really the idea that it affects how we feel. And how we feel affects who we are in the world. It affects everybody around us. And I think it's really incumbent on us as designers and architects to be able to use the tools of our time. And in order to understand this better and to be able to function better and do our work better. And neuroaesthetics and neuroscience certainly is a tool of our time that I think if we leave on the table, we would really be missing something in growing the field of design. And so I'll show you some work that, and some of which Ivy and Susan prefaced earlier as we go ahead, but truly just to let you know where I come from, and that this idea of feeling and form following feeling is really what my practice is about, and really feeling like we can all come together in space. We can find new energy, new empathies, and really work towards what I think is a different idea of what I like to call design justice, where if we all live in spaces that are built and made for us to flourish and to feel well in and be our best, the world would be a very different place. And we design the world out from our bodies. And this is why this resonance that Laura created is what we take into the next moment, but we take that into the next moment in the space that we're in. So, and that's affecting everything. So to really understand what the tools of science are that are at our disposal to really affect how we build our worlds outside of our bodies, from our body, our clothes, our home, our cities, our worlds. This is something that I'm really interested in. So I will share my screen now and take you through some things. Give me just 1 second. Excuse me. To be able to slideshow this. Give me 1 second. I have too many windows open. Two seconds. I think I need to close something. You guys can all hear me, right? Yes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks for that. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yep. Now you just have to put it in play mode.
Will do. It's going there. So as I was saying, I believe that form should follow feeling. I know everyone knows this phrase, form follows function, and that necessarily is somewhat how our world is built, but perhaps we've calibrated the compass towards the wrong north. And I think that what we should be doing is calibrating it towards how we feel in space. And one of the first projects I'll show you is the project that Ivy and Susan and I worked on together, Space for Being, which they mentioned earlier, and this is a little bit more detail about it. And as you may have understood, we built a series of 3 different spaces with the same function, but with different aesthetic intentions, aesthetic looks, so that with the band that Google designed, we could understand how people's bodies were reacting, their physiology was reacting to the design in the space. And so this is the band, as you have seen before. That was put on people's hands, and they were explained the process of going through these spaces, and they had to be in them for 10 minutes at a time in order for us to be able to, and not talking to anyone else and not looking at their phones, and then the data was collected and disseminated back to them to allow them to see where their bodies were most excited. And in between each space, I introduced a kind of a sort of a palate cleanser space, which was a little bit of an anechoic chamber that actually sort of cuts the stimulus down, prepares you again for your next experience. So the first space was really designed around the theme of our histories in caves. The walls were made of mud. There was a beautiful wool tapestry made of the dyes of flowers, and an 80-year-old cactus, which is one of my favorite people in the room that I introduced because that spirit had to be there in the space. And once you got through there and you read books about cooking and weaving and making, coming back to these ideas of being sensual and working with our hands and our senses, the next room was brightly colored. The lights came from lots of different directions. The activities were actually pop-up books to introduce this kind of sense of wonder and play in the space. And the third room was what we called the sublime space, where the light came from above. The textures and the smells were very delicate. The books in the space were about abstract art, very simple, interesting themes that could be somewhat, relaxing to certain people, stressful to some other people. So to really understand what that would do, how people would feel in the space, was something that we tried to find out. And then you went through the last space, took off your band here, and let me know if you can't hear this.
No, we can hear. Oh, you mean the video? No, we can't hear the video.
Oh, you can't hear the video?
No, I didn't realize.
That's what I was asking you.
I can hear the video.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Well, it's over in a minute. I would just keep going.
Okay. So essentially, people left with a takeaway of what their own personal reaction to space was. And this was, in the company of Ivy and Susan, really such an amazing way to catalyze how we think about design moving forward. Really creating a new way to understand our world, to make that visible to people, to really understand that design is not subjective. Design is always personal. It is always political. These are things that we need to take into consideration as designers. Nothing we do is without consequence or without connection. And to really bring us to that space was something that we wanted to do. So I'm going to play a video. If Lee, just let me know if you can't hear the sound. And this is actually one of my favorite slides about it. This shows how we're all in communication, how we affect everybody, how all our different moments of excitement in space look like together. You can hear this, yes?
The way this project is unusual is that we are actually pursuing a principle. I really believe that form follows feeling, and feeling is really what space and architecture are about. Space actually affects people.
Design matters. It's why we spend the time making the decisions we do. Those things that we as designers intuit, neuroscience is now proving have an effect. Google created an exhibition that is showing design's impact on our biology.
The way that I explain neuroaesthetics, it's really simple. It's basically how your brain changes on the arts. When you have a heightened aesthetic experience, like a piece of music, a sunrise, things that really elevate your everyday experiences, they change you. They change your biology, they change your mood, they change your emotion.
I called Suchi Reddy and I said, taking the neuroaesthetic principles, could you create 3 different rooms that would evoke different responses?
The goal is to see how people resonate with space and to really find out whether what they think they resonate with is what their body is actually resonating with.
We respond to the aesthetics of our environment, whether we realize it or not. The band can demonstrate with data from the sensors that actually is happening. Heart activity, respiratory activity, skin temperature, skin conductance. We figure out from the data which room is the one that feels the calmest or the most at ease for people.
Where does your physiology feel most peaceful? I think it's what people are searching for. The space between the notes, the place where they can come and just be.
The interiors where we work and where we live have a deep impact on our well-being. We've always known that and believed in it, but we haven't been able to quantify it, improve it. You enter a space and it's like, I like it, but why?
This is about data used as a mirror back to yourself. Data is just a bunch of numbers, and we wanted to make it artistic in its expression.
It can be really hard to put an aesthetic experience into words. But suddenly, by combining science and technology, we get a new language.
I've selected room 2 as the room that we most common.
Maybe a watercolor can tell more than 1,000 words.
Technology has the ability to help you know yourself better. The problems of the future are only going to become more complicated. Solutions have to happen in this collaboration of technology, the arts, and science.
So in this multidisciplinary mode, I continue to explore these ideas of how science can help us, and using data in the future, I also think is very, very important to us. So I'll quickly take you through an example of an artistic installation in which we examined the future along these lines. And this was an installation called Me Plus You that I did at the Smithsonian last year. And what we did here, Judy, you'd be excited about this. The central piece is a loom that weaves together the digital color mandalas that are created when I asked people to give me a word for their future. And as they speak a word for their future into different parts of this this installation, the central one weaves all of our colors together, showing us that we are all affecting each other. And what was so beautiful about this, really about proving the effect that the arts and beauty have on people, is that people would start sometimes with a sad word and then be presented with this beautiful mandala of lights that responded to their voice, their intelligence, using AI, using ML, and give them this beautiful thing. And the next word they gave into the sculpture was a happier one. And it's so amazing to see this kind of trend, this reaction, these records of the way in which the arts and beauty can really affect how we feel. So on that note, I just want to say thank you to everyone who's here. I'm really honored to be in this company and to be able to share all of this work with you.
Thank you.